All right, so apparently these days you're not supposed to sit at your desk all day. You're supposed to stand up, otherwise bad things will happen. So in this video, I'm partnering with FlexiSpot to build a desk that rises up. They already sent me everything I need to get going, so let's do it. All right, so I got what I think is a pretty cool design. Still kind of working on it, and I'll show you that in a minute, but obviously for now, the first thing is to start cutting up some wood. So the main idea for this one is I wanted to kind of hide the lifting mechanism that comes with the desk. Not that it looks bad or anything, but you know, it's just kind of this regular looking stand that your desktop would sit on, and I kind of wanted to make the bottom look a little more interesting and then have it kind of transform as the desk lifts up. That was kind of the main idea. So starting here with some plywood that I needed to cut to kind of create the skeleton part of the legs that are gonna go around the whole lifting mechanism. All right, I gotta cut up this plywood because I can't fit a full sheet on my CNC machine. I can fit four by four. Is that focusing? So I'm doing that, and I'm gonna cut up kind of the interior skeleton part of these leg covers. I don't know, this part is totally inside. You won't see it at all, but it's kind of the main structure. It'll all make sense once we get going. As you guys know, I don't like to overuse my CNC machine, and I often mess up while using it anyways, but with something like this that needs precision and repetition, it's really nice to have and to kind of rely on, and the bonus is that the sound of it is really nice as well. Surprisingly enough, I got those carved without any mishap, which is kind of rare. Just kidding. Got them all carved out, all good to go. Now I'm just gonna create the kind of riser blocks that are gonna go in between each layer on each leg. Building stuff like this is always really nice because it allows me to use up a bunch of scraps that I have lying around in my shop, and using up those scraps is one of my favorite things. But I'm basically finishing that inner part of each leg assembly, and I'm basically taking what I cut on the CNC machine, and now I'm cutting the spacer blocks to kind of go in between each one and create their height. And each leg is going to have two sections, and those two parts will kind of move independently from each other as the desk lifts and lowers again. All right, so putting these together should be pretty easy. I'm just gonna use some glue and nails, and my only concern is making sure everything stays nice and lined up as I go up the layers. So I think I'm going to just rely on some good old measurements, you know, with some marks, and I should be able to get everything stacked pretty evenly, and yeah, should all come out, I think. I was actually a little bit nervous going into this, but with my marks and measuring and being as accurate as I possibly could be, I actually got everything to line up pretty nicely. I held a straight edge up to the side of it, and sure enough, everything looked really good, was really straight. So at this point, I was feeling pretty proud of myself. It's not that doing this was particularly difficult or anything, but these pieces were basically going to be the main structure of the desk. So it was really important that everything came out looking right and everything was nice and straight, and it actually did, so I could continue on with everything else. this thing's actually pretty heavy. You know what they say about heavy things? High quality. FlexiSpot is the sponsor of today's video. This is the E7 desk frame. Actually, this is half of it. There's another part to make the full desk frame. It was actually really easy to put together. A few bolts. These two, this and the other one, connect with a couple connecting rods to make the entire thing. Haven't tested the lifting action yet, but we'll give that a shot at some point. I think the next step is to test fit the circular structures around this, make sure everything's fitting well, and we'll go from there. All right, I'm not gonna lie and say I saw this coming, but I saw this coming. Whenever I do something on the CNC, I tend to have a screw up, so I cut the part that's supposed to slot around this slightly too narrow, so I need to do a little modification, get it to fit right. No worries, I know what I'm doing. All right, now that I have I keep calling them skeletons, which is kind of a weird term to use, but I have the skeletons made, and now I'm going to skin them. I'm gonna put skin on the skeletons, and I'm using flexible plywood or bendy ply. This stuff is super bendy, so it should work well. Yeah. So there's a couple reasons why I decided to put the skin on the skeletons, and I promise I'm gonna stop using that term. But the main reason, and actually now that I think about it, it's kind of the only reason, is that when the desk actually lifts up and the slats come apart, I didn't want to be able to see the inner workings of the lifting mechanism. Though there is going to be this small little gap here, but I thought that was kind of cool. You get kind of a glimpse, but you don't see the whole thing. I don't know, it's one of those things where in the design phase, as I'm drawing it out, it seems kind of cool, but I suppose we're only really going to know once everything's finished and we see it in person, so I'll stop talking and we'll see it once it's done. All right, that was actually harder than I thought it was gonna be. You know, this radius pretty tight, and even though the plywood's super flexible, it still was a little difficult to, you know, get it glued and tacked into place, but you know, I got it done. The other thing I had to do, which I did it, I filmed it, and then I deleted the footage because I'm a bozo, but I had to trim these edges because there was a little bit of overhang. It was easy, just use your router. The other thing I had to do, these top one, is cut this recess where they slot around the legs, but check out how good these look. I'm getting stoked for this. Yeah, next thing to do is get the hardwood layered up on here, and actually I think the lumber is just arriving now. How perfect. What perfect timing. I can't believe the wood just showed up as I was saying that. It's crazy. I'm just kidding. It got here like 2 hours ago. I just thought it'd be good for the video. Whatever. Okay. So once again, shout out to Woodworker's Source, my favorite lumber supplier that will straight up mail you lumber to your door. Doesn't get much easier than that. And on top of that, they're some of the nicest people around. I mean, look at all these smiling faces. So all this stuff is gonna be my desktop, and all I really needed to do was mill it flat and get it down to the thickness that I wanted. Pretty easy. Well, in keeping with the bozo theme, usually milling is a boring, thoughtless process that doesn't take much from the old brain, but this time, you just saw it, I jointed a face on all of my boards here. Then I proceeded to lay them on the table, jointed face up, and then I ran them all through the planer in that same orientation, essentially planing the messed up side onto the jointed side. All that face jointing was for nothing, so my desktop is gonna be a little less thick than I originally planned out, but yeah, let's start that process over. Ugh. After all that, my boards actually ended up being just slightly under 1.5 inches thick, which is where I wanted to be, so ended up not being a big deal. And at this point I could glue up the panel to make the entire desktop. And just a little side note, if this video feels a little bit different than my other videos, it's because it is. I've actually kind of not been loving the videos I've been making recently and not really having fun making them anymore. And I feel like that's coming across in the final product, which bums me out. So I'm trying to do something that I enjoy, and hopefully that'll come through in the video and everyone else will enjoy it as well. So let me know what you think. Like and subscribe if you're into it. Unsubscribe if you hate it. But at the end of the day, I can do this because of all of you watching, and I really appreciate it. And let's just try and enjoy what we're doing here. So the desktop for this was actually the only thing in this project that I had done before and felt totally confident in doing. Which reminds me, if woodworking or furniture making is something that you're interested in or something that you want to take to the next level, go check out our project courses. We've put a ton of time and effort into all of these, and we really feel like they're some of the best out there. Maybe you're wanting to learn some new skills or just try a new furniture style or something like that. There's really something in all of these courses that you can learn from and translate into your own work. So I'll put a link in the description. Go check them out if you're interested. So now the real fun part, start on the slats for the curved portion of the base, and still not totally sure if this is gonna work, what I have in mind, but we're gonna give it a shot and see how it goes. That's how I do it. All right, so I milled up all this lumber yesterday, and this stuff is gonna be cut into 1-inch wide strips, and it's gonna be what goes around the curved legs. I thought I ordered enough, but then after milling it, I'm looking at that and I'm not sure that's gonna be enough. Let me know if you think that right there, cut into 1-inch wide strips, is enough to go around those two curved leg things. I'm not confident. There's no way. Did I only order enough for one leg, maybe? Well, regardless of whether or not I had enough material for all of these slats, I still needed to start actually making them. And what I'm doing here is cutting a kind of interlocking rabbet. And so the idea behind this is when the desk moves up and down, all of the slats will kind of be held together by each other and nothing will kind of pop out of place as it moves. That's the concept, at least. Totally unproven at this point, but I'm just hoping for the best. All right, I got all these slats cut, have the rabbets cut into them so they all slot together. Now I'm just gonna cut some chamfers on the corners. Give it a little decorative vibe, you know? And then they should be ready to go. As I do more and more and get further along, I get more and more nervous that I don't have enough of these and I'm gonna have to make more and do all this again, but fingers crossed. So as you can see, I'm finally attaching the slats to the leg structures, and I couldn't really come up with a better idea than to attach them like this, which was tedious and took a long time, but I wanted the plywood behind all the slats to be black so that when the desk lifts up, the space between the slats is dark and not this plywood color. But I also needed the raw wood to have some glue surface area to glue the slats to the plywood. So you can see the predicament I was in. Like I said, it was really kind of the only way I could figure out to do it, and I was able to get it done, but it just took a long time. All right, if you guessed that the amount of slats that I had cut would not be enough, you were right, unfortunately. I have one leg done, but I was woefully short on this one. So I'm gonna make a bunch more slats. I won't bore you with that process again, so maybe while I do that, let's get the lifting desk set up and we'll get that going. All right, so I had the desktop put together and ready to go. And like I said earlier, the desk frame was easy to put together, so now it was just a matter of connecting the two. I decided to drill the mounting holes slightly larger because I'd be using threaded inserts and bolts, but the desk actually comes with all the necessary hardware that you'll need to mount it to whatever desktop you want to use. So really this is just me making it harder for myself, I guess. But the reason I'm doing it this way is because I really needed the desk to be fully disassembled or disassemblable, because the way I'm imagining putting everything together, it'll just be a lot easier with everything in parts, but I guess we'll really see if that's the case once I actually do it. It's funny, I don't really need a standing desk because I stand up enough during the day, but I know if I were at a desk all day, being able to stand up and stay productive sounds like a nice option, and it's good for you, I think. So, like I mentioned earlier, thanks to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video. This is the E7 Plus desk, and it's an affordable and high quality way to get a desk that you can sit and stand at. It looks great straight out of the box, and it has this slick control pad with programmable preset heights, so you can raise and lower the desk with a single button press. It also has a huge height range from 26 inches at the lowest to 51.5 inches at the highest, and it can lift up to 440 pounds. This desktop and I probably aren't even close to that, but you know, you get the idea. It's also super stable with smooth lifting action, and it's easy to use and easy to put together, and they offer a whole range of desks to fit your specific needs and budget. So go check out the link in the description and see if one of them is right for you, and use the promo code to save some money on your purchase. All right, thanks FlexiSpot. Okay, crisis averted on not having enough slats. I finished those up last night. Now my concern is that I did a little test fit and it's tight. They don't slide super easily, so I'm gonna be doing some fine tuning and waxing it up like crazy to try and get these things to slide smoothly. So that's my concern right now. We'll see.
So my idea for fine-tuning the fit was pretty simple. It was really just taking away some material on all of the rabbet interlocking joints. So I used my shoulder plane, which worked well. It was just tedious and took a long time. I had to do this on every single slat on one section of each leg. But once I felt like I had taken off enough to give myself some room, I could do a little pre-finishing, and then I could start waxing every single slat as best I could. And my hope is that this would reduce the friction enough to get the two pieces sliding together nicely.
Lining these all up is gonna be a pain. All right, change of plans. There we go.
So I got the two halves back together, which was tricky enough in itself. And unfortunately, as you can see here, they were not sliding very well. I actually had to pull them apart with these clamps, which didn't give me a lot of confidence, obviously. Then I tried clamping the bottom half to the table just to kind of see how much force it took with my own strength. And it was really hard. You can see the look of defeat in my face. I essentially had to take a break from working on the legs and give myself a little bit of time to think about what I needed to do at this point.
All right, not gonna lie, I'm not totally sure what I'm gonna do from here. I really don't want this to be a failure video, but I suppose worst case scenario, the desk that was supposed to be a sit, stand, lifting desk can just become a regular desk and the legs will become static. For now though, I'm gonna finish up the top, get the desktop ready to go, and as I'm doing that, I can figure out the game plan to move forward from here. Yeah, let's do that. Well, I was convinced that this wasn't gonna work. That was a day and a half ago. I left because I didn't know what to do. Came back this morning, decided I might as well get it kind of rigged up to see if it would work. And I added more wax to just about every square inch that I could. I'll show you. I was fully convinced this wasn't happening. I was trying to figure out what I was gonna do with the video, but now that I think I might be able to actually get it to work, this might actually happen. I can't believe it. All right, so I suppose this is the actual moment of truth. First time I've had the desk upright, and let's see if this thing lifts. It works. Well, I really didn't think I was gonna pull this one off, but sure enough, here we are. Even after all the turmoil and challenges, I'm super happy with how this thing came out, and I really cannot believe that it's working. I gotta say, shout out to FlexiSpot for making a lifting mechanism that's strong enough to deal with all the baloney that I threw at it. And like I said, I have no need for a standing desk, so I think I wanna give it away. If you've watched all the way to the end and you want this desk, knowing that it's a prototype and all the issues I had with it, and you live in Southern California, because I don't want to ship this thing, it's extremely heavy, leave a comment down below that says, I want that desk, and I'll randomly pick someone and we'll get it to you somehow. But other than that, thank you for watching. Really hope you enjoyed this one, and see you in the next one.